Welcome to another Ramsden podcast. And today we've got Jordan,
Hey man, thanks for having me again.
co-founder of the Vegan Campout, the biggest vegan festival in Europe, is it? Is it the biggest in Europe?
Well, it depends on what you class as a festival. If you class a festival as like a multi-day camping event, then we're the biggest in the world. But as like,
Okay,
yeah, so it depends on the terminology of what you want to
let's go
class
with
it
that. Biggest in the
as.
world works better.
Yeah,
It sounds more grand. So
that's my
that's
definition of
just,
a festival. So
yeah, same. So it's great to have you back here, man. But unfortunately, we're back here to discuss drama and nonsense. But before we get to all this mental shit, let's start with some positives. So, what sell the vegan camp out? What is it actually? This festival you've put together?
I guess we kind of market it ourselves as like the world's biggest, or at least, and the world's only kind of solely vegan based music festival that's, camping, multiple
Mm.
days, after parties. The differences, I guess, to a regular music festival, all of the acts, all of the talks, and obviously all of the food is all vegan. So, yeah.
So it's really successful now, and you've got what you're looking at 15,000 people this year, right?
Yeah, that's predicted attendance. Yeah.
But it comes at the expense of a lot of bullshit, and yeah, this is the stuff that we're going to get into today. We're going to call out some nonsense because this is what I mean. This is what this podcast is about. You know, it's celebrating the good, but it's also we gotta call out the BS as well. And unfortunately, your festival and you have taken a lot of shit running this. The last time we spoke, it was what was the main shit last time? It was because of the land. It was because of what else was there? The people. That was it. The diversity. That
Yeah.
was it. They were complaining that you didn't have enough um not white people and
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
stuff like
more
that,
like
even though that, yeah,
It was
yeah,
more
go on.
like non-vegan social justice attacks from vegans, whereas this time
Right.
it's more like vegan related. Yeah.
And it was crazy last time because it didn't make sense considering that you're not white
Yeah.
and you co-founded this with your sister, right? Who,
Yeah, basically she
yeah,
now is our other main organizer.
right, exactly. So it's like that back then was just ludicrous as it was, but it's gone to another level now, which is why I wanted to get you on again because this is just I've watched this unfold and I can't actually believe that. So let's just start with the basic bullshit that's come up, right?
Okay.
So the main stuff, and then we'll get more obscure because I know you've got some really obscure shit to reveal today about what's been being said. But let's start with the most basic, simple stuff. So people
Okay.
are upset this time because the land that's being used for the festival has also been used for hunting in the past. Like
Yeah.
they're doing hunting on the land, or have been, or still are doing.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's hunting related land, and that now means that if I go to this festival, I'm not a vegan.
Yeah.
That's what I've read. Okay, you're not a vegan, by the way. You're a fake ass.
Yeah, we're
You're
definitely
not
not
even close.
vegan. Yeah.
You're not vegan. Like you're the most fake ass vegan ever. But if I go, then I give up my vegan card if I
Yeah.
go to this festival. But if I go to Reading Festival, Leeds Festival, or Coachella
Yeah.
or Glastonbury, I'm still vegan. But if I go to the Vegan Campout, I'm not a vegan. That's what I'm being told.
Yeah, that's the craziest logic, that somehow it's okay to go to a non-vegan related event that's held at land that in some way harms animals. But if you go to an
Absolutely,
event
yeah.
that is vegan and actually does a huge load of great for the cause, that's not vegan.
It's absolutely mental.
Sure, I just speak
Yeah,
about kind of how that's come about and how,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Go for it, man. Yeah, talk us through it because I mean, it's interesting, and then we can call out the how why this is nonsense
mm,
as well. I think that's also important. It's not about you justifying yourself.
no,
It's about you explaining the situation a little
mm,
bit, give some context, and then
okay,
we can talk about why it's nonsense to not go or say someone's
yeah.
not vegan because they're going.
Oh
That's
yeah,
ridiculous, right?
yeah, there's almost two sides to it, because I think it would
Yeah.
be, like you say, it would be nonsense anyway, but it's even more silly or like irrational because of how it came about. So like obviously in the past we were at Newark Showground, which was owned by an agricultural society. Now we looked into it, and most of the grants that they gave their money to were like plant farming anyway. But of course, people could make the argument that a small amount of that rent money will somehow go towards animal agriculture. And there was a lot of people who didn't like that. Obviously, most people were okay with it, understood that, most land, like we're going to get onto, in some way contributes towards animal agriculture, but it's always benefits over negatives. But we did get a lot of flack for just many years because of that. And so we kind of spoke to people that would email us, and we would say, look, we have been to like hundreds of site visits over the last 3 years. They all kind of in some way do things that aren't vegan. And what we've realized is there's mainly three kinds of venues: agricultural land, farmland, which is the majority of music festivals, or estates, which are the most neutral because they're not owned by, it's not owned by the farmer, or it's not owned by an agricultural society. It's just an estate, which is essentially a neutral position. Estates are generally weddings and event type venues, but they do allow shooting or hunting because of just the sheer money that they get from these organizations. So the estates don't generally do it themselves, but they get paid as an extra source of income to keep going, just like they get paid by the weddings, they get paid by the music festivals. And so people we would speak to, and we would say, so we're going to get flack at any of them three kinds of venues. So many people actually said to us, including the very type of like hunt sab people who seem to attack us the most, it was actually them that said an estate is your best bet, because even though they allow activities still like shooting or hunting or fishing, it is essentially a neutral position, as opposed to an agricultural land or farmland, which is directly going into the pockets of people that use that money to harm animals, which is a fair position. It's definitely the least worst out of the three. So then that is the reason we then set on, okay, let's find an estate, let's go to dozens and dozens of them, work out which basically is the least bad, or the most in line with kind of vegan or at least neutral values. And we went to so many estates that did hunting themselves, they did shooting themselves, or they also had like a beef farm as part of the estate, or they were selling meat and blah blah blah. And even though we still would have moved to one of them if it was our only option, obviously we were trying to get the very best option we could get. The other thing was we'd find estates that seemed to be like as good as we could get one. We would get right to the final stage, and then they would say to us, oh, our directors have now decided we don't want to take on a vegan festival. We'll get so much flack from, the countryside kind of community, the farming community, because all these places are outdoors. So it was so hard to actually find a place that wasn't also a farm and that also wanted our event. We ended up finding Stamford Hall probably 5 days before our announcement was due. Otherwise, it would have had to be pushed back for like the fourth time. And so it was so lucky. We were like, wow, they don't do shooting or hunting themselves. They do allow them activities. They're not a beef or a dairy farm on the side. And at the same time, they're really passionate about the event. They've told us that they want to move more in that direction. Anyway, they've now got like a veg eco farm, which even though it's more like environmental, it's all about kind of being sustainable and not, being carbon neutral and all of them things. So we thought, oh, that's we've basically got probably one of the best venues that we could have found in the country. We announced it. We explained that it's not a vegan venue. It still has non-vegan activities happen there, but it's now owned by a neutral like organization as opposed to farmland or as opposed to agricultural societies. And the feedback from our audience was overwhelmingly positive. We got the odd comment by a hunt sab who obviously is local to that area. Therefore, it's much more of a personal, emotional thing to them. Have been like, oh, we've had to go onto that land before and try and stop one of the shoots, try and stop one of the hunts. But they were like the minority comments, and we knew we would get them. Then, after we signed with them, the venue then said to us, due to you being here and due to all the exposés that had recently come out to do with hunting, we're now going to ban any hunt group from using the land. That's not why we signed with them originally, but the fact that they added that on the table as well, we thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Like no other venue has been willing to kind of put that option to us. So yeah, we saw that. Oh, my light.
I was gonna say you're about to turn into like full on Jesus, mate. If you carry on letting that light come in, you're gonna be glowing.
Let me just move the curtain.
So it's a great, like, it's great that they decided to do that off the back of like the influence from you guys, and you know, I think it's, you know, we're in 2022. I think they realize that this shit is so backwards.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a backwards thing to do. You know, now you've explained it even further as well. It really kind of solidifies what I already had in my head of this. So like in England and in lots of places, we have these like community centers, right? These venue centers. And I don't know if you had these growing up, but like usually people have their shitty birthday parties in these places,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Like, you know, you remember these like with a shit DJ and like shit food, and like it's just all cringe and weird. So
Yeah.
there's loads of those in England. And a lot of those would host, yeah, like hunt groups
Yeah.
or, you know, farmers union meetings and shit like that. So what got me was like I really wonder if the people that are now coming after you and criticizing, would they also criticize a vegan for going to a vegan birthday party in one of these venues that also hosts a hunt group, right? For
Yeah.
example, is this the same logic?
This is the other point we were making,
Mm,
that it's not like it's just our event. Now, it's both things, because when we said to people, well, 99% of vegans go to music festivals, theaters,
right.
cinemas,
And we
bowling
don't have to.
alleys. No, none of these are
We don't have
necessary.
to.
All of these places sell meat, dairy, and eggs, right? And they probably contribute to a lot more animal deaths than the shoots that happen at the new venue, which is more a seasonal thing. It
Right.
only happens probably once or twice a year or whenever it is. But these other venues who are selling the meat themselves as a huge revenue income, they're selling meat, dairy, and eggs at their cafe or their restaurant or their promotion of their snacks or whatever every single day when there isn't a vegan event there.
Right.
And people would say, well, they're not claiming to be vegan for a music festival or for a cinema or whatnot. But I don't know what difference that makes to the animal, what something is being called. Like, that's not.
Well, I mean, but it's not like you're not promoting
No.
eating meat and hunting. This is the
No.
point. Like, you're almost like a Trojan horse here
Mm.
because you're coming into a place that hosts that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're saying, we're going to do an event that is against all of that.
Mm.
Whereas the normal events that go there,
Yeah.
they're all like serving that. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, if anything, it's like, it's good that you are saying that you are this while you're there, right? If that makes, you are vegan while you're there. It's not that that's a criticism for these people, but actually that's not it shouldn't be. It should be like a good that you're going there and doing this, because most people don't, right?
Yeah, and there's an argument to be made, especially with the shooting thing. Like, obviously, I told you they've now banned hunts from using the land, but from the money they get from other organizations for them to be allowed to shoot on their land, there's the argument to be made that they're doing that because of such a big source of income. But the more events there that have nothing to do with shooting, the more festivals, and especially the more vegan festivals, that gives less of a reason for them to allow them activities anyway. And so the idea that Vegan Campout shouldn't go ahead is, well, you're not getting all the benefits that Vegan Campout gives to the movement, but also you're meaning that they need to find funding from other sources. So like, it wouldn't make sense,
totally,
in any way.
Totally. So it's not a good look for vegans, is it? I mean, what these people are basically saying here is, if something isn't there's practically nothing you can do entertainment wise at all, apart from maybe going to a vegan restaurant that's owned by vegans, right? That's practically the only fully vegan form of entertainment you can do. What these vegans are saying is, that's it basically. Like, forget everything else. Forget any form of entertainment. Forget your festivals, your gigs, your whatever.
Yeah.
If it's not like 100% fitting in with this kind of vision they have, then you shouldn't go to it, or you're not a real vegan. Let's get into like some of you just showed me something. What's this new conspiracy theory going around with these batshits? Let's separate them out from the more reasonable ones, right? Because there are reasonable people who are just, you know, have an ethical issue, which, you know, and they've been reasonable, right? They're not all, you know, and calling you names and shit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
there is a difference.
I mean, just on that, to kind of close that, I guess the issue is, it's like, this is how this is how a sentence in and of itself can sound bad. So all these memes
Okay.
that these people have been making, like there's been photos of dead animals and then our logo above it, or like they found a photo of a shoot or a hunt group that were at the venue with our logo above it. And I understand for someone that doesn't like constantly think in like logical terms that they see a photo, and I've seen them say this: vegan festival held at Shooting Estate, make it make sense. And it's like, well, in and of itself, yes, that sounds like a statement, but like I said, it's not just other events, and people have either blocked us or banned me from commenting the second we've pointed out that I don't know a single vegan festival in this country that is held at a venue that doesn't profit in some way from the abuse of animals. And so, but they're
Right.
not attacking any of them, of course. They have this like very specific nitpick with us, or they try and claim, oh, well, there's like they've got no choice, as if we had just an abundance of choice. So it doesn't make sense. Or like, and I said to someone, like,
Yeah.
it'd be like me posting a lot of photos of factory farmed pigs on your photos, because obviously I will never name another event, but another vegan festival is held
Right.
at an indoor venue which sells pigs all year round. Like, it's not a good argument for me to
Yeah.
post dead photos of pigs on your page because you go to that vegan festival. Like, most people would find that crazy. They would be like, what? So we're not allowed to support vegan festivals now? But it's just, they will take it
Or any
to,
festival.
yeah,
Or any
or any
festival.
festival.
Like, I was at a festival in Finland, just last year, the year before maybe. They had a full pig on a fucking spit roast. I didn't know that it was gonna be there, obviously. It was a shock.
Mm,
But it's like, okay, I've already paid for my ticket now. I'm
mm,
already in the festival. I'm not buying that.
no.
But I mean, somehow my ticket money went to that, didn't it?
Yeah, in
Somehow.
some
It's
way,
like,
yeah,
am I no longer vegan now
yeah,
because of that? And all the other animal products? I mean,
yeah.
it's so incredibly illogical, isn't it? That's the top and bottom of it.
Yeah, and like I was saying with the benefits over the negatives, even though there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that festival, there's nothing wrong with you going to that festival, it's still the point that, and obviously they're not a vegan festival, but they're not really
Mm.
adding anything to the vegan cause. So if that's not wrong,
Mhm.
how could possibly going to a vegan festival, which has a huge net benefit in terms of people going vegan, vegans becoming
Mhm.
activists, revenue formed for sanctuaries and charities and vegan businesses, how can that
Yeah.
somehow be worse than you going to a music festival which has nothing to do with veganism? So it just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And I guess a lot of these people are also very anti Earthling Ed, like anti plant-based capitalism, things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And this is, well, your festival has a lot of both. I mean, Earthling Ed is not just doing a talk; he's also DJing.
yeah,
So double dose of Ed. And as you have animal rights activism tent as well, but
yeah.
you do have a lot of what would be called plant-based
Mm,
capitalism stuff, where it's like loads of burgers and pizzas, and
yeah,
some of them are activists like
yeah.
VFC, for example, but most of them are there for like
Mm,
they're profiting off vegan food.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, by
No,
the way, at all,
no.
but they think there is.
Yeah, but it's funny because again, I would never name names, and I'm certainly not saying it's all of them. But I know of vegan festivals in this country which are very popular vegan festivals that are ran by non-vegans. And again, we can see that as a good thing. But there's definitely the argument, oh, they're profiting off a cause that they don't even
Yeah.
agree with. But like Vegan Campout, our entire team are vegan. Most of us are activists in some way or another, or at least were a few years ago. Some of us still are. So it's such
Yeah.
a higher standard. And someone called me on the phone and they were like, but I'm not having a go at any of these other festivals, but don't you want to hold yourself to such a higher standard? I was like, but you've made a video on YouTube telling people why you're not going to Vegan Campout this year, but you're admitting to me that you are going to continue going to other vegan festivals that don't have as much of a net benefit for veganism, and
Mm.
are still held at venues that profit off of animals. And he kept saying, oh, it's a false equivalency. I was like, I don't think you understand what a false
Oh my god.
equivalency is. Like, we're both vegan festivals held at venues that in some way profit from the abuse of animals. But if you're going to say that shooting, or like pheasant shooting, is somehow worse than factory farm chickens, pigs,
Mm.
and whatever, then
Mm.
isn't that quite like speciesist, or like single use campaign? So
It's
it's not
uh,
consistent.
it's very single-mindedness against you and what you're doing,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what's going on here. It's like an inability to change the mind. The mind is set. This is why
Yeah.
these things don't make sense.
Mm.
It's I have respect for you for even getting on that call, by the way. And I saw that this person recorded the call. It's been posted these people are fucking terrible, man, honestly. So like it's
It's
good
funny
that you're
because on
taking it.
that call, the person kept saying to me multiple times, Jordan, this is
Yeah,
nothing against you. It's nothing about against Vegan Campout. You know, I love you guys so much. And yet he recorded the call and took very like
released it.
6-second clips from the call to try and make out us saying something bad, which I wasn't. I didn't say anything that was incriminating at all, just explain the full situation with transparency.
Yeah.
So it just showed the desperation to try and
Mm.
turn something good into something bad. So it's a
It's
shame.
really sad, mate.
They're just very
Yeah.
and you know, this clip was recorded from the phone of me saying that I care about outcomes and not emotional feelings, you know, and I stand by that. And that's what I mean about taking something out of context. Of course, if you say
Mm.
vegan festival held at a and by the way, even calling it a shoot in a state gives the idea that that's what it is. It's like an estate set
Mm.
up to shoot, as opposed to it would be like saying that a cinema is a murdered pig cafe as opposed to a
Right.
cinema that shows films
Serves
and
hot dogs.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
also serves hot dogs. So it's very, you know,
Yeah, I get it.
purposely kind of
It's
done. But
disingenuous.
yes, it's
Yeah,
disingenuous. And like I said,
extremely.
I understand how a statement like that to someone who is just reading, because the 50 or so people that are attacking us, they're never going to come to the festival. I don't like them. They don't like me. That will never change anything. But the
Mm.
damage they do to kind of naive people who don't think through the same thing, that's where the damage is caused. So you'll see people comment and tag their friends of like, oh my God, you know, I was going to go to this festival. Now, these people are
Yeah.
reasonable
Yeah.
people. And when you say, well, you know, even just in vegan festivals, the other ones you go to, I promise you, their venues, you know, also profit from or promote animal agriculture in some way. But like we said earlier, David, think about all the other kind of events, sporting events, music festivals, and that you have no issue with going to them. And so many of these people, when I've been able to put that to them, say, oh, actually, I've even had so many people message me say, I am embarrassed that I shared one of these memes. But after now talking
Wow.
to you and hearing your side, I'm so sorry for just kind of joining that bandwagon of hate. And it's so
Right. Right.
easy for people to kind of like jump on and be like, oh my God, another reason to hate vegan camp out. But really, when you pick it
Mm.
apart, there's no difference between us and any other vegan festival or any difference
Mhm.
between us and any like non-vegan event. I don't mean anti-vegan
Yeah.
like a, you know, a meat market. I just mean like a
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
I've mentioned this, and I think I'm going to try and promote this a little bit more to stop holding other vegans to these ridiculous high standards that we don't even hold meat eaters to.
no,
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's none of these, not many vegans would talk to a meat eater the way that they're talking to you, and they wouldn't make memes about a meat eater the way they're making
no,
memes about you. Yet, you know. Well, the meat eaters that do that, look at what they're doing. Look at what they're funding. But the attitude towards a meat eater is that, well, come on, we need to work with them, we need to get them to
yeah,
change, we need to help, we need to spend time. It's like, okay, if you really really think that Jordan and the camp out needs to change the same way you want to change a meat eater, why are you not using the same tactics?
yeah,
Why are you not reaching out,
mm,
message, like, can we, like, email, can we, the same way you wouldn't just jump straight to making horrible memes and trying to,
no,
like, cancel someone out
yeah,
without firstly trying to, like, convince them of your position, right? But
exactly. That's so
that,
true. Yeah,
yeah, but we
you would never make a meme of a meat eater with a load of dead animals around them just because they eat meat, even though we can actually make the argument that they are contributing towards them things. But in
yeah.
our circumstance, we're not contributing towards them um, things, and yet the memes that have been made about me or the camp out of my face on like hunters' faces carrying dead
Mm,
animals or stuff, or the speakers that have been dragged in, you know, again, I would never mention names of other people, but it's honestly disgusting. And then, you know, like our sponsors who are very genuine vegan
mm.
charities have been called not vegan for this, and then that
Oh,
spews the
yeah,
conspiracies that then come from from that of like, oh, I had ideas that they weren't really vegan to begin with, and they kind of make it all make sense in their head, and it's just it's ridiculous.
Mental world. So let's get on to the most mental shit here, right? Because
Yeah,
we got some really wacky stuff. So can I read out this comment
yeah,
that
yeah,
you
you can, yeah.
screenshotted to me? So we've got here a comment from this. I'm not going to give. Maybe I'll block his name out. I'm not sure. I won't say it in case I'm going to. So he says Earthling Ed is MI7. Vegan Campout is a military-run event through Viva. Even the landowner is a blood sports participant. So this looks to me like a 100% troll comment, like as if that is just a joke.
Mm.
Are you telling me that's not satire? Are you telling me that's legit? Like he thinks that?
Yeah, from what I could see on his profile, he was a vegan who had liked other anti-vegan camp out statuses. But for him, I just hadn't come with all the screenshots, but there have been many definite, genuine vegans who are involved with other vegan events, saying that we are government paid activists here to infiltrate the vegan community. They've even heard things that is connected to Viva as well. Then people have been like, oh yeah, I've been reading, because then it's like, well, if Vegan Campout are this bad, how are their sponsors also supporting this, and how are their speakers who we thought were genuine vegans supporting this? So then someone was like, oh, I've just read one of our headline speakers' new books. There's a chapter in that gives a very clear indication that this is all paid government stuff, so it makes sense that they're involved with the event, and like they join up these ridiculous conclusions to make an even crazier conclusion. So
okay, so if you're paid by the meat industry or whatever to somehow fuck the vegans, you're doing a pretty bad job. I mean, like people are very happy. I mean, are people leaving the camp out depressed and sick, or are they leaving with big fat bellies full of fucking vegan burgers and happy as Larry and ready to get out there and be vegan? Because from my experience, I remember people coming over to me when I was last at the camp out. I think I was the last time before that. Sorry, when I did a speech, and people were coming over and saying things like your talk and Ed's talk has made me want to be an activist. Fuck, I mean, so Jordan, mate, you're doing a bad job if you're getting paid by the government to like turn people off veganism, because it seems to me like people are going out there and talking about it even more after the camp out.
Yeah, and that ties into the outcomes thing too, because again, the dozens of comments by people that do this very single kind of activism, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not the one saying, oh, you should do every kind of activism if you really care. Like, again, no, that's an unrealistic standard to hold to people. But what I am saying is they are claiming that they're the real activists, and they say things like, these guys have clearly never done activism in their life. They would think very differently if they'd had to pick up a dead bird or destroy a trap or anything like that. And again, I understand their frustration, but it's a very emotional, illogical argument, because in all the work that they would have done in their single life, they definitely would have saved animals. They save animals by being vegan, and I'm sure they've got other people to become vegan as well, which is great. It all adds up. But if you just count even if there's just a few hundred people each year that go vegan as a result of going to camp out, and say like 100 people that become activists as a result of going, that every single year throughout their entire lifetime will probably equal, I think I did the maths just based off like 500 people going vegan or something over the course of the event. And I think I worked that out to be like 2 or 3 million animals spared in their combined lifetimes. And that's not accounting for the physical funds that are attributed. So again, even though we're definitely having a much higher net benefit than a lot of these activist groups combined, somehow their conscience is just so much more clear, because they would never hold a vegan event at one of these kind of venues. But what actually matters, outcomes or like perception and
principle
it's proven it has a positive impact. So that's what makes it ridiculous. And it's not just that they're going after an unrealistic standard, by the way. Like the ones who are saying like, what about this venue, why aren't you in the middle of Scotland, like that could be classed as having an unrealistic standard. But I've seen comments that actually say, if Vegan Campout can't be a small enough venue which is completely vegan, then it shouldn't go ahead at all. And so they are actually admitting that not having all that benefit for veganism is better than their principle not being right.
Right.
Like, which to me is a very anti-vegan. It's not even a neutral position. It's actually it's an
It's
anti-animal position, because it's saying your
yeah.
feelings come before the the outcomes of that event going
What
ahead.
actually
So
helps.
the idea
Totally.
that like a
Totally.
500 person event in a vegan's garden would be better than a
Yeah.
15,000 person event at a huge venue, which, like I said, actually you can make the argument that it's getting its funds from an additional source, and that might lead it in the
Mm.
future, to maybe ban shooting altogether. They've certainly
Mhm.
banned the hunt, so that is a positive step for
Yeah. Yeah.
animals, which wouldn't have happened had we have not been there.
No, it's tiresome, and you know what's really fucking exhausting is that I so people might not even realize that, like, when I'm ripping into these people, it's not like I'm just, I'm having a bit of fun ripping into them a little bit, roasting them. But speaking really right now, like I've been in that world of not hunt sabbing, but investigating,
Yeah.
and I've been into the depths of like for full on depression,
Mm.
seeing that shit on a fucking daily basis, editing those videos. It's horrendous. I know. So I'm coming from. I feel what they feel. If
Yeah.
that's where they're coming from, I get it. And I've been in that place where I'm like, fuck you for eating McDonald's, you're not a vegan. Fuck you for eating that, you're not a vegan. I've been there as well, because when you have this all going on, it's you end up getting in this kind of weird mindset where, like, I don't know. Yeah, this is how you think, right?
Yeah.
But it's a spiral, it's a downward spiral into like a really depressive state. And
Mhm.
I think you hit the wall at the bottom where you're like, I can't fucking live like this. This is not normal.
No.
And that's when you start to come out of it. And that's what I did. I came out of it and I was like, you know what? I've been thinking in a really, wow, that was bad. I was living a bad life.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
You're definitely more
it
unhappy because you just think everything about the world and no one can change and
yeah,
everything will always be bad and everything has to be perfect, otherwise there's no point doing anything. And I was definitely
exactly.
more
Yeah.
like that. I was never like I was never that bad, but I was certainly a little bit more kind of ideological with things, and I
Yeah,
kind of
that's probably the word. Yeah.
stepped away from that, started kind of just living my own life a bit more, realizing the world isn't perfect. But I was still never like that because I never boycotted music festivals. But to be honest, I probably didn't know a lot
Sure,
of
I
them were
didn't. Yeah.
held on farmland, and that was another
Same.
thing I was
Yeah.
going to say is that, and again, these people certainly aren't unreasonable. They're just, I guess, ignorant, just like we are to most things. Most of us are ignorant to
Mm,
most things, and so
mhm.
when they see statuses by people saying like, how did this not bother Vegan Campout? Did they just accept the first offer that landed on the table, as if we didn't spend years going to venues and critiquing them on hundreds of different things? Because again, you hear people say like, why don't they just buy land? It's like, oh yeah, to buy about 100 acres of land, even at like £10,000 an acre, would be like 1 million just in land. That's not infrastructure, that's not
I
council
saw
permits,
this,
that's
dude.
not.
I saw someone trying to calculate how much money you made, and they were like, "Oh, he makes this, so he could easily buy land."
Yeah.
And it was like, the numbers. Where'd you pull those numbers
Yeah.
from? Probably out your ass, But
Yeah,
yeah,
one person was like, I run a vegan festival which is very small and it costs me £60,000. So God knows how much it costs Vegan Campout. And she put something like just showers alone are £3,000 a block. And a genuine
mm.
vegan, again, I checked their profile, was like, well, why do they even need showers? That money could be going towards animal rights. It's like, again in the unrealistic standards, like, so let's not have showers, let's not have electric, let's
Oh
not
my god.
let's not get big speakers which will cost an expensive fee, but that will get more people to the event and promote veganism to
Uh,
more
Dude,
people. Let's just, yeah.
Amish style, man. Purely like that's fucking hilarious. Oh my god.
I was going to say
I hope
when
you've screenshot some of these.
Yeah, I have. But I was going to say, when the reasonable people message us like, hey, I've seen the post, I'm sorry all the flack you're getting. Have you checked out
Mm,
this venue? Have you checked out this venue? And again, I don't blame them. They're just trying to help. But it's like 2 minutes
mm,
into the website, in the same way if you go on the Stanford Hall website, there's very little to do with
mm,
shooting, because again, that's not what it's about. That's just one source
mhm.
of of income. You really have to dig to find that stuff. And a lot of the time it's not even on their website. Their website looks so clean. You go to the site and they're like, oh, I hope you don't mind, we have a pig farm over here, we have this over here, and you're like, yeah, that's just, it's not going to work, it's just, it's too far away from where we need to be. But so you'll go on the sites that these people recommend, it all looks great. 2 minutes into looking into their pages, we are, a proud shooting estate, or, we are contributed to this hunt group, or we host these hunt groups, or we also, have a meat farm or a pig farm on the side. And it's very buried within the website because it's not a big part of what they do. And so I don't understand people. I understand people's naivety that they think, well, I've just Googled this venue and it says that they're a wedding and a sports venue. It's like, yeah, so does Stamford Hall if you go on the website. Do you know what I mean? But again, it's when one thing is magnified on, and it makes really impressionable and naive people think, God, how could Vegan Campout be at a venue like this? And they just don't see the bigger picture.
And they follow the conspiracy trails of like, well, they're just in it for the money and and then it's like they don't really care and blah blah blah, and it goes all off from there. And I remember, if you're a vegan, you're not allowed to earn money unless it's in a 9-to-5 non-vegan job. Then you can earn money, right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to earn money from veganism in any way, like not from the food, not from a festival, not from activism. You're just not allowed. It's not allowed, right?
And again,
that's the golden rule.
I have seen reasonable people, again, who see, the 30 to 50 main instigators that are just, hell-bent on these conspiracy theories. I've seen the reasonable people kind of like tag us or tag me and be like, but in all fairness, it is just a capitalist enterprise, right? And again, it takes me saying 99% of vegan businesses are capitalist enterprises. And then they're like, actually, yeah, you've got a point. It's like, did it really take me to tell you that, like, the majority of vegan businesses aren't non-for-profit organizations? And it's like people just, again, they don't really think through what they say. They see someone else say something and they think, actually, yeah, it's just a capitalist enterprise. Why am I going? It's like, well, you're coming for the same reason that you go to the other vegan events, or you go to the cinema, or you go to a music festival,
right?
Like,
or the same reason you buy your bloody, vegan cheese and vegan burgers instead of just making it yourself and raw products. Like, you buy it because you like the taste, it's entertainment, you enjoy
you
it.
Want to support a vegan business.
Right, and they're doing it for money. Who gives a shit? They're still a vegan business.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter as long as they're not like, doing something horrible somewhere else or something, right? But but even then, like, people aren't researching where the fucking vegan burger comes from 99% of the time. They just buy it because it has a vegan sticker on it.
Yeah, and many of the big vegan mock meat brands, as you know, are owned by the meat industry or dairy farms. Some very openly, with like Richmond sausages or whatnot. That's not a lie. Obviously, Richmond is a huge pork producer, so that's
so good.
Yeah,
those sausages are fucking insane.
Oh, you're
like the thing
you're
is, it's
fake
like
vegan now. Buy them from Richmond.
I couldn't even part of me was like, I don't feel too like okay with this, but it was my principle again, because it was like, wait a minute. If I buy this, am I causing is this going to cause harm? And it's like, well, no, actually, it's probably gonna like. It's a sale of a vegan product from a meat company. And in the past, I would say that was a bad thing. But now I'm kind of like, well, okay, what's the alternative that I don't buy it? Me buying it or not buying it makes no fucking difference. That was the conclusion I came to, right? It's like, it's neutral. Like, if I buy it, okay, nothing happens. If I don't buy it, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So this, because it's a vegan product. So it was like, okay, I'm going to buy it. And they were amazing.
And again, in an ideal world, of course, you can make the argument of like, if you're really, again, I think this is an unrealistic standard to hold in everything you do in your life. But sure, there is an argument to be made. I buy Richmond sausages as well. But of course, there's an argument to be made of like, that money will go to a better use if it's by a fully vegan company. But again, in the analogy to us, we are a fully vegan company. We're not one of the vegan events that's ran by non-vegans. They're claiming because our venue isn't vegan. So then it's not just that you're buying from Richmond, which is a very openly animal abusing, let's say, company because they're a pork company. But even if you buy the vegan owned meat product, you're a non-vegan because it's being hosted in a venue like Tesco, which isn't vegan. So that's actually the standard they're using against us. They're not actually using the don't buy from McDonald's, don't buy from Richmond standard to us because we are a fully
Mm.
vegan company. They're taking it one step further, that the host that sells that product, they have to be
Yeah.
fully vegan. Otherwise, you're not vegan, and someone buying your product isn't vegan. And I'm sure you've seen the more crazy kind of statuses that literally say, unfriend me now if you are going to
Oh
vegan
yeah.
campout. You are not
Yeah.
vegan. You will never be vegan. And again, there's lots of people
Oh my
defending us.
god.
There's people saying, right, I'm unfriending you. How dare you say I'm not a vegan? I've been an activist for the last 5 years. And it's just, even though it's funny and we're laughing, it's not a
Right.
good thing for the community. You know, I've seen,
No, of
for
course not.
everyone attacking us, I've seen just as many statuses saying the last 2 weeks, seeing everyone fight over vegan campout because of their venue, not even something they've done,
Right.
is really not good. I've seen people be like, I'm starting not to want to be involved as much in the vegan
Yeah.
circle, because it can be a really toxic place. You know, I guess we all
Yeah,
have
it
to.
puts you off.
Mm.
It puts you off hanging out with people, doing events and things like that. It's just constant. There's a lot of conflict,
Yeah,
right?
no, and I really appreciate anyone that sees this video still helps to give the other side, because I do feel, except from, like I keep saying, the 30 to 50 main instigators, I do believe the other people are just seeing it in a certain way, or they're ignorant and they've just seen a few statuses, and maybe they'll see this video
Mm.
and be like, oh, I understand what's happened now. But it,
Hmm.
it really does take people like talking about it and speaking about it. Like, if we had stuff to hide, I wouldn't come on your channel to speak about this. You know,
Right.
people
Right.
have been like, oh,
Yeah.
we've been banned from the page. It's like, yeah, 50 people have been banned from our page because they're spamming all of our posts with pictures of dead animals and calling us fake vegans paid by the government. Like, yeah, we're going to ban you from the page. Like, that's not us
Yeah.
censoring, a different view. But these people don't want to speak to me. I've messaged some of them. I've added them, not even messaged them, and I've just got a message in my inbox saying, "What the fuck do you want?" It's like they're literally speaking to you like you're the most evil person. So they don't want to have the conversation because they've just
Oh
written
my
you off
god.
automatically. So
Well, look, I mean, just one thing we need to make sure that we don't reveal is that how much you paid me to go through these talking
oh
points
yeah.
and make sure that you look good. So, I mean, oh shit, we're still good. We'll cut that out. Yeah, yeah. So we just need to avoid that. But that'll be what they'll say. They'll
Yeah.
say that like, oh, he's getting paid or some shit, some stuff like that,
Oh yeah, if
probably.
it's us
Um,
and the sponsors and then the speakers, then it has to be you, for like everyone's in on it. Everyone except from them
yeah.
is in on this big
Hey,
government
look,
infiltration.
Look, man, I'm happy to throw myself in the opposition to those people on this, and just hope that they come out of this dark, dark fucking hole they're in. To be honest with you, and that's the beauty of it, is that this is like 30 to 50 people. They're
Yeah.
very loud, and they
Mm.
are influencing some people that are
Yeah.
neutral, which really sucks.
Yeah.
However, the vast majority of people
Yeah.
are looking at this and saying, "What the fuck?"
Mm.
Majority of people watching this video are going to be like, is this really, are you serious? Like, do we have to talk about this
Yeah.
for an hour? Really? Yeah, I mean, it sucks that we even have to, but we
Mm.
fucking do. Like, most people are going to be like, this is mental. Just go to the camp out or don't go to the camp
Yeah,
out.
and to be fair, when we put out, like, first I put out just a text statement on
Mm.
Facebook, but then because they really like started zooming in and trying to be like, oh, gotcha, look at this link. They found a venue that was held in some hunt group and they screenshot it. And this, by the way, this website was not the Hunt's website and it wasn't the
Uh-huh.
venue's website. It was an event directory page, which obviously gets things wrong all the time. You know, it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
picking up information from other things and trying to put it together, and it wrongly claimed that Stamford Hall was still hosting some hunt group. So I sent them the screenshot. They literally laughed. They were like, we've never heard of this group in our life. We can assure you we're not going to be there. And then I clicked on this event directory page. And when you clicked on the event, it then took you to the actual venue, which was in Newcastle somewhere, three
Right,
hours
right.
ago. And loads of people were screenshotting it, be like, see, they're trying to paint this picture with their statement, but like we will continue to like find them out. So then my point is, when we put out our proper statement, except from them people that were still commenting on it until I banned them from the page, the hundreds and hundreds of comments of people were either like, I had no idea this was going on and it's stupid, or I've seen all this stuff going on and it's stupid. You shouldn't have to be
Yeah.
making this statement.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so you are right, that the majority, I think, are reasonable people, or they defend us.
Lots of events would just ignore this kind of thing and hope it goes away, but you're actually like, no, we'll talk about it. Like, we'll
Yeah,
go head to head.
either,
It's
yeah,
good.
false claims or massively out of context, illogical claims will just make me like fight harder. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I'm not,
Yeah, sure.
even though it gets harder at times for sure, when it just feel like lots of people are against you. But yeah, I'm always going to carry on. I'm certainly not going to do this event because of other vegans. That would be not, yeah, that would be ridiculous. Like, it would at
Yeah.
least make more sense if we were being attacked so viciously by non-vegans, which almost never happens, by the way, except from the
Right.
odd comment of like bacon on one of our posts. But you would get that all the time, like, and we've spoke about that
Oh,
before.
yeah.
Like, your
Yeah.
troll comments of the week or whatnot are all like obviously non-vegans, whereas ours,
Yeah.
although that it's not, it is a minority of people, but like you said, it happens every year. There's always another issue to take out of context as a label to throw against us. And I understand a lot of it is jealousy as well. Like, I look into the kind of people that are posting things, and they literally say it sometimes in the comments of like, why do these guys get to do all this and I'm here in my house, like, on benefits, trying just to exist? And it's like, again, obviously I understand that position, but like, I just think that's a really, really low energy,
It's bitter.
low,
It's
yeah,
very bitter. It's very bitter. There's no need to. It's yeah. I've had it as well. The exact same thing.
you know, we don't shy away from the fact we're not a non-for-profit organization.
Right.
Obviously, we all have
Yep.
jobs, we all have salaries, and the event is doing really well, which is great. You know, that drives us to keep pushing it. Otherwise, we would have kept it a 3,000 person event, which wouldn't have anywhere near as much, you know,
Yeah.
influence and
Big
all
of
the rest. But
impact.
you know, even that is funny because people see, you know, people like, again, I don't like naming names, even though I'm naming them in a good way, so maybe I can. But people see people, you know, like Joaquin Phoenix and Moby and all these people as like amazing voices for
Yeah.
veganism, and they're all, you know, they've got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million in the bank. Again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but again, it's just like directing it at us, who are all full-time people. We do this all the time. None of us
Mm-hmm.
are rich. You know, we're in a successful business now, which is great. It just seems,
Mm-hmm.
it just screams of jealousy. And as long as people can understand their jealousy and not use it to bring other people down, that's fine. But when you use your bitterness and your jealousy to actually try and destroy someone else's life, especially when it comes to do with memes and conspiracies, that's
Mm-hmm.
sick. That's like a level away from just like, you need to kind of see the bigger picture. That's like, you need
Mm-hmm.
help. Like, if that's what you're spending your day every day
Yeah.
on Facebook doing. And it's a shame that some of these people do have influence within the vegan scene, because I don't know how they're turning anyone's opinion with that kind of attitude. But like you say, they're the minority, and
Yeah, it's important to remember that they're fucking loud and they can definitely get you down and get you in a bad position. But if you just keep reminding yourself that, okay, fuck, they're loud and they're assholes, but they're the minority. But the negative comments always hit harder, right, than the positives. Like, yeah, I feel you on that. Negativity, it sticks with you a bit more. Like, it I don't know, it lingers. Whereas positivity, it's like, oh, that's nice, and you move
yeah,
on.
oh,
But if
that's
someone
so
says
true.
something really horrible,
Mm.
you're like, oh, it sits for a few minutes. You're like, that was horrible. Then you're like, okay, I'll move on. But you never really do. You're like, it's still, I feel that's still horrible.
And when it's
It's
someone that's meant to be from your so-called like community, do you know what I mean? Like, it's
right,
not,
right.
like I say, it would be easier. Obviously, back in the day, we used to get it, and we do still get it, but it would be much easier
Mm.
if it was just some meat troll posting a picture of bacon on our
Yeah.
post. Like, what's that going to do? We've heard it all the time. But when there's a certain number of individuals that are meant to be from your community, class themselves as moral, compassionate people, and they're just hell bent. And obviously, it's not just us they attack. There are other people. You go on their
Right, right.
profiles. You know, it's seasonal. It's Vegan Campout for a bit, someone else for another. You know, we come up again with another issue, then blah blah blah. But like, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. But
Hurt people, and you just gotta
yeah,
hope these people figure that out pretty soon. Like, what the fuck is actually bothering them so much, and
mm.
figure it out. Stop taking it out on you and whoever else they're taking it out on. But we can try and finish on a high anyway. What are you most excited about this year? Is there something new that you're pumped about that you didn't have last year?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what's going on? Yeah.
loads. I mean, I just want to say I wanted to come on this, and again, thank you for letting me to come on to kind of give this side to what's been happening. It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks of stuff. Aside from that, everything's been going great. Do you know what I mean? We've sold more tickets than we've ever sold. We've got the biggest lineup we've ever had. We've got a brand new venue, which, like I say, the irony is it's better than our other venue, because it's a neutral estate. So we've actually come so far to like being at somewhere that's like, okay, it's not farmland, it's not agricultural land, it's a super outdoorsy music festival vibe. So it's going to have that, like, it's always been kind of run like a music festival anyway, but being at a showground, which is why showgrounds are ideal for events, because they already have all of the infrastructure there. The negative to that is it does feel a bit like, it doesn't feel so festively because all the buildings are already there and all the showers are already built and everything's flat and there's no kind of like texture to it. But being in just a giant open air green field with loads of woodland and lakes and all the rest, we're so excited to be at this new venue. It's going to feel like a completely different festival with no pre-built stages and rooms to have, the big circus top tents and everything be outdoors as opposed to some things being indoors, some things being outdoors. So yeah, there's so much to look forward to this year. Like I mentioned, having a lake, even when we went to other sites and they would have a lake, they would make it very clear, oh yeah, like we don't want people swimming in there. Whereas this festival was like, oh yeah, we have loads of festivals that use that lake for people to swim in. So, again, to be one of the few festivals in the whole country that has a lake that people can actually swim in, that alone is super cool and, kind of ties in with the whole, I guess, more hippie, outdoor, vegan.
It's a really cool addition, yeah.
We're still working out just how many people can be in there. Again, it even still ties back to it's not as serious, but people just nitpick everything. I saw one comment of like, how irresponsible allowing people in a lake. Do they not know that there's drinking involved? Like, we're not going to monitor how many people are going in there, and we're not going to be allowing people that seem physically out of it to be swimming in a lake. Like, have some common sense, people, and don't try and see negatives in everything.
Do you know? Did you not see that there's like a rugby match going on at this one, right? This camp out, there's going to be a rugby match. That's so irresponsible. Do you not realize people are drinking? You can't have them playing sports when they've been drinking.
Do you know how many injuries there are due to rugby each year? Like brain damage, like all the rest, like.
Fuck, man.
But like, well,
yeah. I'm pumped about it, dude. I'm pumped about the rugby. I'm pumped about the lake. It's going to be a really good one, man. Really excited about it. Yeah,
I definitely. Even if I did see you in 2019, which I don't know if I actually did meet you, but even if I did, that's already 3 years. So it'll be nice. Nice to see you. There seems to be a lot more people coming this time that weren't able to come last year. And obviously the year before we didn't happen anyway. So there's actually quite a lot of people who haven't been since 2019. So yeah, from that venue I think we had 7,000 people in 2019 to have double the amount of people this year and just be at a completely drastically different venue. It's going to be crazy. And that obviously will be, I like to say this early just so people don't, it will allow people to kind of not jump on us when something does go wrong. There are going to be issues because it's the first time we've been there. There will be things that go wrong. There will be things we didn't expect and we will work on them things for next year. But like things compared to last year with like the number of toilets we could get and showers and like the queuing times to get in, that stuff is going to be so much better. And again, like, the pandemic obviously caused issues. It's like last year, that was a big reason for why food vendors had to pull out or, like contractors had to pull out. Things are in a much better situation this year, so there's not so much that's out of our control of like, loads of stuff pulled out at the last minute. It's much more. We've had a lot longer to plan things. Events have obviously been allowed to go ahead for well over a year now. So yeah, everything's looking really good.
Is there anything you wanted to comment that I've not asked you about? Anything I've missed?
No, we're on our last 10% of tickets now. So obviously, I think the email earlier, I hate how it keeps getting closer and closer from my point of view because it's like, there's so much to do. But yeah, I think we're at 25 days to go. So yeah, if you haven't got a ticket, definitely come and join us. That one event probably of the whole year in the world where there's just influential vegans or friends or people you speak to online from all over the world there. Like, don't wait until next year. Like, come this year, and then it'll be even better next year when we figured out what to improve from this year. So
Awesome. Yeah, good sale. Good sale. So go check it out. What's the website? vegancampout.co.uk, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. I'll put a link in the description. Go pick up a ticket. Thanks, Jordan. I'll see you
Thanks,
there.
David. See you, man.